They mocked the black pilot until the storm hit and silence filled the sky. What happened next stunned the world. The glass of the airport lounge gleamed under the morning sun, throwing hard light across the polished floor. Naomi shifted her cap from one hand to the other, her crisp navy blue uniform catching in the glare. She had just returned from a red-eye flight the night before, yet she stood tall, ready for the pre-flight briefing. The room smelled faintly of coffee and jet fuel, the kind of mix that lived inside her skin after years of flying. She walked toward the conference room where a handful of pilots were gathering, the soft rustle of papers and the low hum of chatter filling the air. Captain Harris, her supervisor, glanced up as she approached. For a moment, Naomi thought he might call her inside. Instead, he cleared his throat and turned to the younger man beside him. "Ethan, step in with me for the briefing," he said. Naomi froze, a sharp prickle running down her arms. Ethan. He had joined Meridian Airlines barely half a year ago. "Captain," Naomi began, steadying her voice, "shouldn't I be in that session? I logged more hours on this route than anyone." Harris's gaze flickered, then dropped. "Not this time, Naomi. Please wait outside." His tone was final, dismissive. The words hit her harder than turbulence. Naomi pressed her lips together, her jaw stiff as she turned away. The door shut behind them, leaving her stranded in the hallway like an unwanted shadow. Through the crack of the door, she caught faint laughter, the shuffle of papers. Time dragged. When Ethan finally emerged, papers tucked under his arm, he gave her a nervous smile. "Sorry, Naomi. Don't take it personally." She forced a smile, though her throat burned with humiliation. She had trained harder, flown longer, and yet she was the one standing in corridors while others walked in. That evening, Naomi's apartment smelled of garlic and fried plantain. Her sister Lydia sat cross-legged on the couch, hair tied in a neat bun, her glasses slipping down her nose as she read. She looked up when Naomi dropped her bag on the floor. "They shut you out again, didn't they?" Lydia's voice was quiet but sharp, the kind that pierced without trying. Naomi sank into the chair opposite, still in uniform, still too raw to change. "It's like I don't exist," she muttered. "I'm good enough to carry their flights, to do the work, but when it's about trust or recognition, suddenly I'm invisible." Lydia pushed her glasses up, studying her. "You're not invisible, Naomi. You're a threat. That's why they keep you outside the room. Because they know you can't be ignored forever." Naomi wanted to believe it. She wanted to cling to her sister's certainty, but the sting of exclusion was too fresh, too heavy. The next few weeks blurred into a restless cycle of flights, sleepless nights, and gnawing doubt. Yet cracks began to show. On one long-haul flight, Naomi noticed a hydraulic gauge flicker out of range for a split second before resetting. She logged it, told the ground crew. By the next day, the entry had disappeared from the records, cleared without explanation. Another time, a warning alarm pulsed for less than a minute, then went dark. When she raised it with Captain Harris, he waved a dismissive hand. "Glitch, don't overthink." But Naomi's instincts, sharpened by years in the cockpit, screamed otherwise. After one shift, she found Marcus, a fellow pilot she trusted, leaning against a hangar wall, cigarette between his fingers. The night air was cool, filled with the smell of kerosene. "Marcus," she began carefully, "you ever notice things?" "Off?" He studied her face, then exhaled smoke into the night. "You're not imagining it. Keep your eyes open, but be careful." His warning lingered in her mind. Late one night, Naomi stayed behind in the break room, poring over maintenance reports someone had left scattered on the table. Her eyes widened as she traced patterns, parts signed off without replacement, warnings ignored, systems marked as cleared without signatures. She flipped through page after page, her pulse quickening. The evidence was everywhere, hiding in plain sight. Meridian Airlines wasn't just sloppy, they were cutting corners, risking lives to save money. She confronted Harris the next day, slamming a folder of copied reports on his desk. "These are violations," she said firmly. Harris didn't even look down. "Leave it, Naomi. Do you want to ruin your career?" His voice was cold, tinged with threat. She felt the door close on her before she even left the office. After that, her flights were reduced. Rumors crept through the corridors like smoke. One afternoon during boarding, a passenger paused in front of her, hesitation written across his face. "Is it safe with her in charge?" The words weren't his, they had been planted. Naomi smiled tightly and guided him inside, but inside she burned. The humiliation turned into fury. She began collecting everything she could: maintenance logs, safety reports, whispered testimonies. Her tiny apartment filled with stacks of papers, her laptop glowing late into the night as she typed notes, her sister silently making her tea and leaving it beside her. Then came the boardroom showdown. Naomi stood in front of a long glass table, her evidence spread like shards across its surface. Executives in suits leaned back in their chairs, Harris at the head, his lips curling into a smirk. "You either drop this," he said softly, "or you lose your wings." Naomi's chest tightened, but her voice was steady. "Then take them. But I won't bury the truth." For a moment, silence stretched, broken only by the clock ticking on the wall. She walked out knowing her career was over, but also that her fight had only begun. The storm came weeks later. Naomi had been assigned a cross-country flight, her last, she suspected. 200 passengers sat behind her. Beside her in the cockpit was Marcus, his expression calm, but his eyes alert. "They're watching you," he murmured. Naomi tightened her harness. "Good, let them watch." For the first hour, the flight was smooth. Then alarms blared. The hydraulic system failed mid-air. Her blood ran cold. Passengers stirred, sensing something was wrong. Naomi's hands moved quickly, instinctively. "Control, this is Flight 607. Declaring precautionary emergency. Request immediate landing clearance." The descent was brutal. Winds battered the wings, warning lights screamed, the landing gear jammed before locking into place with a bone-rattling groan. Naomi's heart hammered, but her voice stayed calm as she guided the aircraft down. The runway rushed up, the tires hit with a deafening screech, the plane shuddered violently, but it held. When the aircraft finally slowed to a halt, silence reigned for 3 long seconds before the cabin erupted. Passengers clapped, cried, shouted her name. Marcus exhaled loudly beside her. Naomi gripped the controls, her hands trembling. She had saved them all, but she knew this wasn't the end. Cameras swarmed her outside the terminal, reporters shouting over each other. Flashes blinded her, microphones pushed into her face. She lifted her chin. Today's emergency wasn't an accident. It was the result of repeated negligence and cost-cutting by this airline. "I have proof, maintenance records, erased warnings, falsified reports, and I will not let them bury it." The press roared. The story exploded across networks within hours. Investigations launched, government inquiries summoned, airline stock plummeted. Within weeks, executives resigned. Harris was suspended, his smug career collapsing under the weight of exposure. For Naomi, it wasn't triumph, it was survival. One night drained, she came home to find Lydia waiting on the porch steps. Her sister's eyes glistened. "You did it," she whispered. Naomi collapsed into her arms, shaking. "We did it." Above them, a plane traced the night sky, its lights slicing clean across the darkness. Naomi watched until it disappeared, her chest rising with something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. She had not only flown through sabotage and fear, she had landed in truth. If this story moved you, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more inspiring and emotional journeys. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from.
Black Stories. Subscribe, like, and share.